You know, there's one question that I get asked a lot these days, and that's, is Squad worth it? Well, as someone who's been playing this game for over 5 years, I usually have a pretty good answer for them. Now, going off of that cut, a lot of you will probably be thinking, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. But before you hit that buy it now, let's talk about a few things first to ensure that if or when you do buy this game, you have the best chance of enjoying this. For those who don't know what Squad is a 50 versus 50 team-based tactical shooter, or a milsim if you must. It is all purely player versus player. There's no solo or co-op based story mode in this game, so if you prefer the more PvE side of things, you may want to look at a few other titles such as Arma 3 and Insurgency Sandstorm, or take a dive into the Squad modding community and see what they have to offer over there. The whole premise of Squad is to work together on many different levels to support your team and each other in order to win the various game modes that are within the game. But for a good 80% of you, the main game mode you will ever see will be called Random Advance and Secure. This is similar to Battlefield's Conquest, where you have to capture control points or objectives. But in Squad, you can only capture them in a specific order, and you can't see the next objective until you've captured the one that is currently active on your map. Everything revolves around tickets. Tickets are essentially what you use to respawn, so each time you die, give up and respawn, that costs your team 1 ticket. Various assets in Squad range from obviously 1 ticket for a player respawn, all the way to 15 tickets for a tank and 20 tickets for a radio. You gain tickets by capturing objectives, you get 20 for capping a neutral objective and 60 for one that was controlled by the enemy. So to win a game of Squad, you basically have to make sure the enemy team runs out of tickets before yours does. This itself lends itself to many different playstyles. You can be part of the attacking squads, whose sole objective is to take over controlled objectives by the enemy. You can be part of the defensive squads. It's a thankless job, but these guys have the toughest role, and that's essentially defending your active objectives from the enemy. You can use armoured vehicles such as scout vehicles, APCs, and main battle tanks to hunt down and destroy enemy armour, or purely just support and transport infantry. You can run logistics and troop transport to keep your team supplied with ammo and construction via ground or air, and much more. Squad can have up to 9 infantry, including the squad leader, and there are a bunch of different roles you can take. You've got medic, anti-tank, marksman, grenadier, combat engineer, machine gunners, rifleman, and there are other roles, but you generally only see them for irregular or specialised factions. Naturally, along with this, you also have the squad leader, armour squad leader, lead pilot, and commander role. All of these roles have pre-designated kits which cannot be modified in any way, shape or form, but they usually do have a few alternatives which you can pick from. Now, because of this, there is no progression in Squad, other than in yourself as a player, like your actual skill and knowledge of the game. So, you don't need to worry about stupid things like battle passes or achievements to unlock kits and classes to make them playable. They're all available from the get-go. Now, as Squad is player driven, all of the servers that you join in order to play the game are community based. They all have to meet specific requirements in order to have a Squad server license. But as most of you watching this will probably be new to Squad after this video, I recommend looking for either a new player friendly server or teamwork based servers. Don't go for the new player only servers, as it's generally disorganized chaos, as it's 100 noobs with no idea what's going on. New player friendly servers have experienced players on that are usually more than happy to help newer players learn the game. Now, I do have a new player guide which I will link at the end of this video, and I highly recommend you watch that as well. There are a whole host of maps in Squad that vary in size and location. You've got small CQB focused maps, urban-based maps such as Narva and Fallujah, then you've got snow, desert, forest, coastals and much more. And just to give you an idea of the size, The biggest map in Squad right now is 58 kilometers squared. Now, none of these maps are locked behind any form of paywall, and as it stands, that's the way things will stay going forwards with new maps in the future. Now, while Squad has been on the go since 2015, it is an ever-evolving game, and as it stands right now, it's probably my most favourite point in its timeline. Yes, there's been some staffing change, including a change in CEO, but don't let that worry you. As it stands, Squad now is in a very good, solid, safe place. In fact, 2022 was by far the best year Squad had ever had, with the average player base going from around 3,000 players daily to well over 11,000. There were a bunch of major updates that brought a lot of new content, and there was plenty of smaller patches and updates on the interim to keep things topped up as well. As of this video now, the newest update is due on the 15th of March, with the last major update being just over a month prior, so the game is still being actively worked on and developed. Now, optimization is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and I will admit the game isn't anywhere near fully optimized. But when you sit and look at what Squad is doing, there is a lot going on. So if your PC is really old, you might want to hold on till you can afford an upgrade or two. Not to mention, it's also about 80 gig. Realistically, to get good stable FPS, you'd want something like a Ryzen 3600X and say something like a 1060, with a minimum of 16 gig of RAM. And for the sake of it in comparison, I currently run a Ryzen 5800X 2070 Super with 32 gig of RAM, and I run my graphics somewhere between high and medium on 1440p, and I'll get between 70 and 120 FPS, depending on the map and how condensed all the players are, but for the whole, it's very stable. Now, one thing I do want to address with Squad is you don't have to be a full die-hard milsim nut to enjoy this game. That's the mistake that I made when I first got into Squad, but not long after that, I realised people were a lot more casual than I first thought. If you like games such as Hell Let Loose, Tarkov, Battlefield, and hell, even casual shooters like Call of Duty, you will enjoy Squad. The gunplay is very fluid and all the recoil is player controlled, and as far as I'm aware, there's no learnable recoil pattern like what you would get on Rust or CSGO, but it's very intuitive. For example, when shooting at someone who's a good 300 to 400 meters away, you can see where your rounds land, so you can adjust. And I think it's like every 4th or 5th bullet, you'll sometimes get a tracer. The movement fits perfectly with all of the aforementioned games and soon becomes very familiar. On top of this, there are loads and loads of guides on YouTube, varying from new player guides, tip videos, to full in-depth tutorials on how to use a specific weapon system to its absolute fullest. And not only that, but the amount that you will learn from those around you is incredible. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been playing this game for well over 5 years, and I'm still learning stuff now. I do know one thing that's probably got a lot of you grimacing right now, and that is the price. Especially in this day and age where the cost of living is spiraling out of control, and we've all got to tighten our belts a bit. It can be hard to justify spending $60 on a game that you're not sure about. But here's a few things to check to try and help you out. After all, I'm from Northern England, I'm as tight as they get. Firstly, always look on websites such as CD Keys and isthereanydeal.com. You could save yourself $20 to $30. Also, don't forget to check in Humble Bundle as well, as I've seen it there a few times in the past. And if all else fails, Squad does go on sale fairly regularly on Steam. If you still aren't sure, then wait for a free weekend. They do this 2 to 4 times a year, where you can literally play Squad Friday, Saturday and Sunday for free. So you can try it out to see if it's the game for you. All in all, Squad is a very solid future. The community is extremely engaging and ever growing, and there's literally countless hours of replayability. Yeah, some days can be a bit rough when the enemy team is super organised and yours is still trying to work out who's backcapping, so you get your face smashed in. But then the next day you get on, it could be you who's rolling the enemy. Hell, in 1 to 2 years' time, you could be sat doing exactly what I'm doing, making content on this game and helping players of all skill levels. You never know. If you still have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments down below or hop into my Discord server and fire them in there. I hope this video has helped you in your decision to whether or not you want to pick up Squad, but I look forward to seeing you all in the battlefield one day. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.